Well, we officially are live, so, you know.
Cool. Don't you want to know why I feel so good?
Why do you feel so good?
You're not
Tell
doing
me.
the lead-ins. Well, no, I'm wondering, and I would love if people would comment on this, if they're experiencing or noticing they're experiencing the same thing I am. I just got replenished on my Stimulonic, which is the zombie killer. And every time I take that, which I take it every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just so I can remember which night I need it. And the next morning, and I did not expect this. I thought you'd feel like crap the next day, but I feel great the next morning. It's
Do you
weird.
really? It's
Yeah.
just cleaning out your system. Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty
Yes,
cool.
it is.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I notice I do feel better when I take it. You know,
Yeah.
the nights that I take it. So,
Isn't that cool?
yeah.
And I would
Now
think
you
with it imploding all that stuff, that your body would be a little bit overwhelmed and you wouldn't feel so good. But
now
I
you
mean,
you ran but you
every
ran
time.
out of you ran out of Stimulix for a while, didn't you?
Well, yeah, because they weren't making it, right?
Yeah, but I'm just saying you ran out. I never did. So
All right.
I've been on it consistently since March when it came out.
Right, right.
You know, so I haven't missed a dose. I haven't missed a dose.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe I don't know how many
So
other
you
people
should
can say.
feel good. Na 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 na.
All the time. All the time. I feel good all the time. You know, Andrea, there's so many good things in Stemmolytic. It's not just for senescent cells.
Well, tell me about that.
You know, well, I mean, think about things like last week we were talking about N-acetylcysteine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, N-acetylcysteine is a great source of getting sulfur into your body. Cysteine is an amino acid, and so it's a great way of bringing sulfur into your body.
Okay.
And so we have it in the stemmolytics, and sulfur is necessary. Organic sulfur, like um, it's necessary for part of the whole healing process. If you don't have enough, your body gets to a certain step in the healing process and it stops.
Oh. So probably like many other things, as we age, we have less sulfur in our body.
I don't know if there's so much of that as the fact that we just don't have it in our food anymore.
Okay.
Right? We used to take and we'd use, cow manure and horse manure as fertilizer out in the fields and all that, and that contains a lot of organic sulfur.
Okay.
Just left in the poop from the digestive process, and then they grind it into the soil. And then we started using commercial fertilizer, which is high in nitrogen, makes the corn crop look huge, but no substance to it.
Ah, gotcha.
And uh, and so they started doing a lot of studies on that. And you probably remember a number of years ago a product that came out is called MSM,
No.
methylsulfonylmethane, or you've heard of glucosamine,
Yes.
and you've
Glucosamine.
yeah, and so those are all, it's a sulfur carrying ingredient, so it gets the sulfur into your body.
Okay.
Yeah, but on top of that, because we're exposed to so much fluoride, we have to make sure that we get enough iodine in our body as well, because otherwise the organic sulfur is going to attach to the fluoride molecule.
Yes. Eliminate that fluoride.
Yeah, so we have to get enough selenium to prevent that from happening as well. So that's why I always tell people, make sure, like the Sizzle Influence product has the selenium in it.
Okay. Good to
And
know.
I'm sure other products do as well, other Sizzle products, but I take that one for that reason, along with the other good reasons for it that we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
So I don't know. Did you read that article that I sent you? I know you don't like CNN, but did you read it?
I did. I did scan through it.
You did scan through it. Okay. So here's why, even though I don't watch CNN, I don't pay attention to them because I mean just the whole political thing. So we won't go there because this isn't a political talk show, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So the article was written about a study that was done in England. It was just published. They took 365,000 randomly selected people that and they tested them for COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And what they did is they tested them for COVID antibodies,
Okay.
which means that they had been exposed to it at some time, whether they had symptoms or not. Because they're saying right now that 50% of us won't have any symptoms.
Right.
Okay, so the big question has been: is this going to be like, like say the measles, right? Right. So once you get immune to the measles, once you've built an antibody to measles, your
You
chance
know,
of ever having measles again is probably pretty slim.
minuscule. Minuscule.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that's because you build an antibody that stays with you for life.
Right.
Okay, but with other coronaviruses like the common cold, right? I mean, people I mean, I don't know if if you get a common cold every year, but a lot of people do. I tend to get a little bit of a common cold every year. So what's that tell you?
Um, that possibly your antibodies get lower in their levels.
And that's what this study kind of said. And so the particular antibody, which is the IgG antibody, which is what they tested for, it's a particular protein that your body puts together so that it has a memory antibody. So when you get exposed to it again, you don't get sick again, or you get very little sickness because it builds up your immunity quick. You want to see that again?
Okay.
Quick, like that.
Good
Okay?
job. Good job, Doc.
Okay? So with the common cold, normally if you're exposed to it 6 to 12 months later, your antibodies are gone. They've decreased to the point to where they're gone.
Okay.
All right? So they found that study that I just sent you, and it said that in England, 365,000 randomly selected people, they tested them for antibodies, and then they retested them. So they started this testing back in June. Okay? I mean, because they want to see how fast do the antibodies wear off. So they found that in 3 months, there was a 26% decline in the amount of antibodies in the body in those people.
Okay.
26%. So that says it wears off pretty quickly. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's starting to act like the common cold. Okay? So that's important to know, right? It's important for researchers to know. It's important for your doctors to know. It's important for the hospitals not to know that hey, look, Andrea may have had the CV19 virus last year, but then here it is 2021, and you might get it again.
How can we prevent that?
Well, and that's what we want to talk about today. Good question, Andrea. You're on the ball here. You're on the ball. So here's what they said. Here's what they said. They said that it tends to affect older people more often, right? We talked about at the beginning of the
Mm-hmm.
call. Why is that? Why do older people? Well, older people tend to have a weaker immune system, right?
Right. Right. Due to many things.
Lots of factors,
Yeah.
and we'll talk about that. So it tends to affect older people more. It tends to, you find that the antibodies wear off more quickly if you had a weaker infection. So if you got less symptoms, if you didn't get really sick, chances are your antibodies are going to wear off faster. So
Okay.
if you had like, and you were done, it was over, one
Mm-hmm.
cough, chances are your antibodies are going to wear off really quickly. Where the guy that got really sick for a and went to the hospital and that for a long period of time, maybe in the hospital for a week or whatever, um, their antibodies are going to hang on for longer periods,
Supply and demand.
right? And so that's what they're finding. They're finding that people that have stronger immune systems to begin with are the ones that are going to have um, the they're going to have the longest lasting antibodies, the longest lasting immunity. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Really?
Yeah. So what does that tell you, Andrea?
That you should keep your immune system built up.
So you want to be a young person with a strong immune system.
Correct.
All right. So we can't turn back our age, or can we?
Or can we?
And we can't say that natural products build immunity, but in a way, if it supports the body's immune system, it really does, you know, build a
Yeah,
stronger immune system. I
I
mean,
agree with that.
we just have to say it correctly so that we can legally say it the way that we want to say it, right?
Right. Right. They get it.
And
They
yeah,
understand.
you understand. So I'm watching a truck out here. I've got a guy coming over that's gonna clean junk out of my gutters. So I got to watch in case. So if this guy comes to my door, it looks like he's driving around the neighborhood trying to figure out where my house is. But um, so if I have to jump up, you'll have to take over the call. Is that all right?
Oh, sure. Then I can
Okay.
talk about anything I want to.
Well, no, we're talking about building immunity. So that's all the notes that I had today, folks. So we'll go from there. So what do we need to do? First of all, let's go back and let's talk about the fact that younger people tend to respond better.
Yes.
And we've talked a little bit. You talked about the Stemolytic product in the beginning. It's why you feel so good, and you feel younger. You have all this energy and rah rah. Ooh, you're right. And
Yep. Hoorah.
and 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 so what's one thing that older people have is they have a weaker immune system because the immune system starts to go into this state that's called senescence. They go into a senescent state, right? And
Yes.
what that means is that, hang on, I think this is. Do you want to talk a little bit about senescence while I check this?
Well, sure, I can do that. So, senescence is when a stem cell or a cell get to a point of aging where they no longer function correctly. And if you're younger, they're supposed to just kind of implode and go away. But as we age, we lose the ability for that to happen as easily. So it builds up in our system. So these senescent stem cells build up. And it would be great if they just sat there and they were dormant, but they're not just sitting there dormant. They're giving off extreme, according to Tom Maurer, extreme toxins that affect the cells around them. So
There you go.
basically, that's it. And then we heard the statistic that by age 40, almost half of your stem cells are in senescence.
Right.
That's a huge toxic burden on the body.
Huge.
Huge.
So so really we can say that you should, if you start noticing, that you feel older after the age of 40, there's a reason for that. It's not just in your head, is it?
Oh, right. Yes.
When people dread turning 50, it's not just in their head, is it?
No, no. They're feeling the effects of their
Yeah, because
body breaking down.
yeah, it's breaking down. So the your more of your cells go into this senescent state, and and it can't protect you as much. And like we were just saying from the article that came out of England, just published, that they said that they're finding that older people tend to have more problems. Well, So why don't we get their body's immune system to act like a younger person?
Sounds like a good plan.
Right? We can't turn back the clock. We can't say, "Hey, Kurt, next year you're gonna be 42 years old." No, I'll be next year. I'll be 59, and but on the inside, I might be a lot younger
Younger.
on
Yes.
the inside. If my body reacts like it's a 40-year-old or a 30-year-old, on the
Mm-hmm.
inside. Um, and so that's where I think it's really important is that we really stipulate that we're going to try and support the system so that your body reacts like that. And so how do we get rid of those? How do we get rid of those senescent cells?
We take the one and only product in the world that has 8 different ways of senolytics to get rid of them,
Yeah.
which is called Stemoletics from Sizzle.
Sizzle Stemolytics. What a great product. I mean, like Andrea said earlier, it makes her feel young when she takes it. She's got more energy. But on top of that, when you take a look at those senescent cells, they cause a lot of inflammation. And isn't that one of the biggest problems
Yes.
with
Yes.
with this virus?
With the virus and every other degenerative disease. We've talked about this so many times that inflammation is a key factor in aging.
It's one of the major contributors. It's one of the major symptoms in almost every chronic disease, isn't it? Heart
Yes.
disease, brain dysfunction, gut dysfunction, all these different things. And so, if your body is so busy fighting inflammation all the time, if all of your immune system has to go fight the inflammation, it doesn't
Nothing
have
left over to fight disease.
it has nothing left over to fight disease. So that's why when you see somebody getting older, they get into their 80s and 90s, all of a sudden then they don't they don't die from the inflammation. They die from the complications caused by it. You hear of a lot of people, they get sick from pneumonia when they get to be in their 90s,
Mm-hmm.
and it kills them.
Yep, because they can't regenerate. They can't heal. They have no stem cells left.
Because all of their body is fighting all of the other inflammation throughout the body. It's fighting the inflammation in the cardiovascular
Mm-hmm.
system. It's fighting the inflammation in the fat cells. It's fighting the inflammation in the muscles and the joints where the arthritis is and all of that.
Right.
So if we can lower the inflammation,
Mm-hmm.
aren't if that's the only thing we attack, Andrea, if that's the only thing that we can pound into people's head today, is how to get rid of this inflammation.
Right.
Won't it make a huge difference in their body?
Huge. Huge.
Yeah. So Stemolytics,
Mm-hmm.
Tom,
Number
Tom
one.
put this Tom put this product together, earlier this year, about 10 months ago, and it launched in end of February, first part of March. And what a
Mm-hmm.
fantastic product for removing those senescent cells and all the studies on it. If you want to read the studies, go online and just look up senolytics, and
Yeah. Just look
senescence,
it up. There's tons of information out there.
or go back to some of the videos that Tom did. I have them posted on YouTube. You can go to Andrea and I. We've done a lot of videos on this, and you can look at that. But the other thing, Andrea, is diet.
Mm-hmm.
If you eat the standard American diet, what they're
Sad.
showing you is that we have a pro-inflammatory diet. Americans eat, and I'm not just going to say Americans. Anybody that eats the standard American diet, you could be from Australia, you could be from the UK, Russia, China, wherever. It doesn't matter, and it promotes inflammation.
Right.
And a lot of it is due to the fact that we have an imbalance in the omega-6 ratio to omega-3 ratio. And
Yes.
and you and I have talked about this a lot on this call on what we
Mm-hmm.
can do for that. Well, the first thing that I tell people is take a look at your diet. I'm not going to say the most important thing is to go out and buy a supplement. The most important thing is to take a look at what you're doing.
Right.
You know, if you're eating if you're eating a lot of food high in the omega-6 and low in the
Mhm.
omega-3, that's going to cause inflammation. That's going to
Well,
cause
you know, and all of the junk food we eat is just inflammatory because of the ingredients in it. You know, it's got
Yep.
horrible ingredients. So, you know, if you're drinking Monster all day and you're
Well, now
eating.
that's a little bit different when you say drinking the Monster and drinking soda and eating carbohydrates, all the sugary foods and things like that. Now that does cause inflammation too, but that's
Mm,
because sugar, your body treats sugar as a toxin.
right.
You know, your body treats sugar as a toxin, and then it fights that. So that's another source. And I mean, totally legit. You bring it up at the right time. But yeah, we want to lower that. So look at your diet. Lower your carbs, like Andrea is saying. Lower especially the processed carbs.
Exactly.
You know,
Like
especially
you
the
shop
processed
the
carbs.
outside of the grocery store. You don't go in the middle. You go on the outside of the grocery store, basically.
Yeah. But I noticed, like at the grocery store that I'm shopping at, they've started to figure that out. So they're putting some of the
Hmm.
junkier foods on the outside aisles too. Um, but even if you're eating a healthy diet, Andrea, what most people consider to be a healthy diet with lots of fruits and vegetables and things like that,
Yeah.
you can still be messing up your omega-6 to omega-3 ratio because a
Mhm.
lot of vegetable fats are primarily omega-6. They're primarily
Right.
omega-6. So you got to do a little bit of research. You got to spend some time. You got to educate yourself. This is something that they don't just teach you in high school. They don't say, "Oh, let's look at this omega-6 to omega-3 ratio." And
They
and
don't
Andrea,
teach it in college either, let me tell you.
no, no. But ideally, if we look at if we look at if we look at a perfect diet, they're actually telling us that we should have an omega-3 to omega-6 or omega-6 to omega-3 um, at a ratio of 1 to 1.
1 to 1. And what
And
is the average? You've shared it before. What is the
yeah,
average?
so
26.
yeah, but they're saying that chances are most people won't get their ratio to 1 to 1. So they're saying, hey, if you can get it to 4 to 1, omega-6 to omega-3, get it to a 4 to 1 ratio, you're doing pretty good because you still need some omega-6 because that's how you fight infection. Is you have to
Right.
have some inflammation involved. That's how you fight disease. But they're finding that most people have a ratio of somewhere between 16 to 1 all the way up to over 30 to 1.
Right.
And
That's outrageous, isn't it?
it is. It is. I mean, and it's horrible. And so that's why they have so much chronic inflammation. I talk to people every day that, like I was just talking to a buddy of mine the other day. He's 58 years old, and I mean, his hands are just inflamed all the time, and he's telling me about all these diseases, these different things that he has. And
Oh,
when I start talking to him about his diet, I know he owns a restaurant,
yeah.
so you know, so he's eating a lot of pastas and things like that. And I said, okay,
Hmm.
here's what you need to do. And I kind of explained it to him. And then he told me, he said, well, maybe you can help me with my dog as well. He said, your dog seems to, at 12 years old, Chewy still runs out there and chases down a running pheasant.
Right.
And he said his dog would have trouble getting out of the car. And it's,
Well,
and his,
there's a huge difference there. You just look at the dogs.
yeah. And I said, well, what do you feed your dog? He said, well, I feed him restaurant food.
Oh my God.
Right? And I'm like, okay, well, there's part of the problem. But so it affects not just us, but it affects our animals as well. So those are going to be the two biggies that I'm going to say is the
Hmm.
senolytics product, the Stemolytics. If you're over the age of
Homiletics.
40, especially, and you want to start taking that product, and it's 4 every other day, and then you want to balance out your diet, and then you want to start getting a good omega-3 product.
Right.
You know,
Super omega.
super omega, and you want to start
Hmm.
getting a good product for lowering inflammation. And
Hmm.
even if you don't have joint pain, right? Like when you look at the Renovator product that we have, the Renovator product was designed primarily as a joint support product.
Right.
But I think that because of the curcumins in it and the MSM and the glucosamine and things like that, um, it's a great product to take even if you don't have joint pain.
Okay. Well, then we also have out there the hydrogen water product.
Yep. Well,
H2.
before we talk about that, I just want the next product I would say would be the Fucoid,
Oh, fucoiden. Yes, definitely.
because we're still talking about getting rid of inflammation. So fucoidin,
Mm-hmm.
um, lots and lots and lots of studies on it. I mean, we talked about it. Was it last week or no? We talked about eternity last week. But there's thousands of studies on fucoidin. It's one of the most studied molecules on the planet because it has so many important properties. It's been used for years over in China and Asia, all the Asian countries, Japan, because they found that it's so good at supporting healthy cells. It helps get rid of inflammation, and it boosts immunity. I mean, I've heard some scientists say that it boosts immunity like over 300%.
It's like a miracle gift from God.
Yep. And Tom's got he received two Genius Awards for
Mm-hmm.
his work on fucoidin. The way to extract it and the way to concentrate it and make it so it, again, here's that word sulfur. He sulfonates more of the
Yeah.
molecules because so many of the molecules, there's different molecules, the U, F, and G molecules of fucose that are in the fucoidin, and in most products, the F and G molecules aren't sulfonated.
I see.
And Tom figured out
It's a
how to
great product. I've only been without it for 1 month in the last 4 years.
1 month.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I can say I've never been without it in a long time. But it's yeah, so it's a great product. So it supports the immune system and it supports helping getting rid of immunity. There's other things about it too. There were some studies that you and I talked about last year where it showed that it helps support healthy kidney function.
Yes.
So that's important. And then of course the H2 product, which I think you really, I mean, that's one of your key products. You really love that product. So tell people a little bit more about that now.
I do. Well, it's just a sachet of mostly magnesium and vitamin C, but when you dump that in water, it separates the molecules, the hydrogen and oxygen molecules that make up water, separates them apart, and you put it in there for about 15 minutes with a all airtight so the hydrogen can't just float off into space somewhere. And then you drink it within 15 minutes. And
Can
the
you
thing is, there's so much research on it. Like you can easily find research on hydrogen out there on the internet. Just go in and put, the benefits of hydrogen water. You'll get tons of research. I have 2 or 3 pages of research in my iPhone Notes app on hydrogen water. But here is my personal story about it. I actually one night ate some brand name like substitute food things that had alcohol sugars in. And I didn't know what alcohol sugars was. I looked at the label and I'm like, what is that? What does that mean? Because it's supposed to have no sugar in it, right? And so I ate that and then discovered when I went to bed and had this extreme pain, the worst pain I've ever had in my life. I went on the internet, looked that up, and discovered that, you don't want to intake too much of that. So I was like laying in bed going, what do I have? What do I have? I have fucoidin, I have hydrogen water. What should I take to get rid of this? And I drank, I went, oh, I don't know if I want to wait 15 minutes for the hydrogen water. Cause this was extreme pain and I've had 3 kids. So it was much, much worse than having a child. And, so I mixed it up and I waited, the 15 minutes and drank that down. All of my pain was gone within 10 to 15 minutes.
No kidding. 10 to
I'm
15
not
minutes.
kidding you. I was like, I did have gas all night. So what it did is went in and that hydrogen locked on to whatever chemical reaction was happening in my intestines and, dissipated it and turned it into a gas, basically. But the pain was gone. It was amazing. So anybody
All right.
with intestinal issues, go drink your hydrogen water.
Yeah, and most of the time, because some people are gonna think, oh man, they're gonna be popping gas all day. No, you don't. You're
Right.
not.
No, no, not from the hydrogen normally. No.
Well, I just want to point that out because some people they might take your
I'm not
experience and think,
drinking
oh,
that.
I'm not gonna drink
No,
that.
I
I don't.
drink
I
it
don't.
all the time and it's great. And it makes
Yeah.
you, I don't know, it just makes me feel good. When I drink it, it's like I'm a highly sensitive person. I can just almost like feel it going through my body. Like it's
Yeah.
amazing. When I was really young and I started drinking beer, I could only drink about that much beer, but I could literally feel the alcohol go through my veins in my body. So I'm pretty sensitive to things. And when I drink the hydrogen water, that's what I feel. I feel it actually moving through my body. It's pretty cool.
There you go. Well, that's a good testimonial. So,
Yeah.
so so we recommended, change your diet, watch what you're eating as far as like making sure that you don't get too much of the processed sugars. Make sure you get enough omega 3. So you're gonna have to do a little research on your own on that. Take super omega because it's got a good balance. It gives you some good omega 3s. Take the stemmolytics because the stemmolytics helps support a healthy immune system by getting rid of these senescent cells. Helps get
Mm-hmm.
rid of inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Take the fucoidan because it gets rid of it helps with inflammation, and it helps boost or support a healthy immune system, and it helps with inflammation. And then the H2 again, it helps get rid of inflammation, and your body needs the hydrogen. It's the source of energy for every cell, for your mitochondria.
Yeah.
And and then and then I mean, as we're talking about, because this whole thing that we want to talk about was, okay, so if this CV19 virus is going to be, if it's going to act like the common cold, if it's going to come back year after year after year like the common cold, and that's what some people are predicting, well then the biggest thing that you want to do, whether you're young or old, is make sure you have a strong immune system. And
Right.
uh, and so all of these things. It's not just, oh, don't just take this today and then forget about it tomorrow. Make a plan for doing this for the rest of your life, because according to a lot of scientists, this is going to be around now forever. It's going to be like the cold virus. It's going to be here for a long time. It's going to be here probably for the rest of our life. And so the only way to fight it is to make sure that your immune system is good and strong. Um, we've got another product. It's called Body Shield,
Mm-hmm.
and Body Shield is really important when you're talking about immunity as well, because Body Shield has something called fulvic acid, not folic acid. A lot of people get confused with that. They think I'm saying folic acid, which is vitamin B9. This is fulvic acid, fulvates, fulvates, fulvates. And fulvates are found in soil. When you make compost, that's what's happening, is that the leaves and the dead grass and all that, it's decomposing, and over millions of years it creates this really rich soil that's got lots of fulvates and humates in it, and that's what fulvic acid is, and fulvic acid comes from the million years of decomposition of um, seaweed, ancient seaweed,
Mm-hmm.
and we put it in a product called Body Shield. There's a lot of really good reasons to take it. Originally, when Tom put it together, it was right after that nuclear power plant problem that they had over in Japan, right?
Right.
And because they found that fulvic acid tends to bind to this nuclear waste and pull it out of the body. So that's why Tom originally developed the product. But then
Mm-hmm.
when we started hearing about this virus earlier this year, right away it was like, hey, here's one other thing that Body Shield, has in it. The fulvic acid. We can't say Body Shield does this, but the studies on fulvic acid show that what it does is fulvic acid um, binds to the viruses. So when we call it a coronavirus, why is it called a coronavirus? It's because it's got these little fingers coming out. and and so it looks like a crown with these, you
Right.
know, things coming out, and the fulvic acid binds to these little protrusions on the crown on the
Mm-hmm.
virus, and it stops it from being able to attach to other cells. And when it prevents it from attaching to other cells, it stops the viral replication,
Right.
you know. And so summed it up really quickly there, but it binds to it, and it prevents the viral replication because of that. And as it prevents the viral replication, the virus can't grow in your body, and so it makes it so that you have a, even if you get exposed to it and you get infected, you're going to have less of a problem. And it's not just with this virus; it's with all
Mm-hmm.
viruses. And
Right.
so that's important as well. And so we want to do that. The other thing that I tell people is you want to get your vitamin D levels up. You want
Mm-hmm.
you want to keep your vitamin D levels up. We're rolling into the cold and flu season, right? People are in Michigan and North Dakota and Minnesota. Um, we're staying indoors more often. We're
Right.
breathing recirculated air. And so if somebody is in a business where they recirculate air and they start sneezing and coughing, guess
Mm-hmm.
what? That gets into the air system, and you're going to breathe that in. And so
It's
you
like
have more
it's like
chances.
wearing a mask.
That's why we're seeing an increase. We're seeing spikes in this virus right now, is because,
Mm-hmm.
and they predicted it,
Yeah.
because people are staying inside more often. It's winter. I mean, come on, it's winter time. And so that's what tends to happen up here. I know down south you guys are still warm. Down in Australia you're moving into your summer months, and that, but even in your winter you don't get all that cold. But so we're exposed to more of these viruses, and so this is important stuff that we want to do. So I say vitamin D. I take 10,000 international units a day, every day. If I feel
Awesome.
something, yeah, if I feel like I've been exposed to something, I actually double that, Andrea. You know, like this last
Okay.
weekend, I was hanging around with a few of my friends, and who knows, how many of them got exposed to something. I mean, just through the chain of he goes to work here and he goes eats dinner
Mm-hmm.
there, and all of a sudden we're hanging out. You know, um, so we tend to have more chances of exposure, and so
Mm-hmm.
I double up my vitamin D ahead of that time, and I keep my vitamin D levels up. I double up on it um, after that, and you can find some really good vitamin D products on the market. I mean, and and we don't sell just straight vitamin D. We've got it
Right.
in some of our products, like the Encompass 360, and we've got it in the Balance D, of course. But I think you need more than that. So I always tell people, get that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I mean, there's some good companies. If you're having trouble figuring out what company to buy from, just get a hold of me, and I'll let you know. But I think the vitamin D levels are so important. Um, nitric oxide,
Mm-hmm.
nitric oxide. They really. I mean, there's been a lot of really good studies that have come out on that, saying that because we use it mostly for what, the for restore product.
Oh, well, my plan was to clean out arteries.
Yeah, to make the arteries so that they're good and clean, and so that they expand. And the ingredients in there got the Nobel Prize back a number of years ago because of their the studies that were done on them. But what they
Mm-hmm.
found was is that people that have higher nitric oxide levels tend to be able to fight these viruses off better as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another product that I kind of throw in my toolbox for keeping my immune system strong. Again, especially when you're getting older, you got to do as much as you can to keep that immune system strong. And I mean, let's face it, we don't live in a bubble. I mean, right now they want us all to live in a bubble, socially distance, wear your mask, don't go places, don't go out, don't do this, don't do that, right? I mean, it's like we're being treated like a bunch of little kids. Don't do that, don't touch that. But we can't live in a bubble, Andrea, not forever.
Right. That's impossible.
So you got to build your immune system up. You got to make it strong, And so everything that I can throw at you, right? I mean, if I were you and you're listening to this and you're going, okay, well, you know, Christmas is coming, and they're telling us, oh, don't get together with family, don't do this. Thanksgiving is closer, and it's not less than a month away, and they're saying, you can't get together with family. You can only have, you know, two or three people in a room at the same time. My mom
Right.
called the other day, and she's all worried about it. She's like, well, what are we gonna do? And I said, well, I mean,
Get together.
dad will be 83, mom will be 81. Well, we got to kind of worry about it because they're getting older, and so they're more prone. They both had their share of disease over the
Hmm.
years, and so their immune system is weaker. And I told mom, I said, well, I said the thing that I would probably do is, because again, for me, if it was my choice, I'd say, come on in, let's have a party,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
I mean, but when I'm talking to mom and dad, because they're in their 80s and they've got some immune challenges, I told my mom, I said, well, maybe what you want to do is have each of us come out at separate times. You
Well,
know,
what's the difference? You're still exposed.
well, I think that the thing is that their table in their house, it's long enough that they could put everybody else on that end. They could sit way on this end. They could be 10 feet away.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know, Andrea. Is it the right thing? I don't know. But so that's what But then on top of it, I got my mom and dad taking all these great products that we've just talked about. They take every single one of them,
Yeah. Right.
right? Because I want their immune system to be as strong as we possibly can make it. And so if you're listening to this call and you're concerned with it, you're going to be getting together with somebody on the holidays, and you're just generally concerned. Order these products. Order these products. Start taking them. Even if you think you've been exposed, like the study said from England, it says 26% decrease in the antibodies in 90 days. In a year, they're saying your antibodies have dropped to almost none. So what's that tell you? If you think you were exposed last February or last March, you probably don't have much left of your antibodies to fight that. And now you're being re-exposed to it. It's just like the common cold. A lot of people get it year after year. They say, "Oh, I get the cold every year," or "I get the flu every year." Right? Bump that immune system up.
Right. Well, keep it up anyway. Right. So you're healthy and strong and.
Right on. Keep it strong all the time. I mean, and so, but some people, I mean, they don't do that. You know, out of sight, out of mind. Right?
Well,
Oh, I
it's a
don't.
decision. You have to make a decision of how you want to live your life. And
Yeah.
basically, you do the extra to make it a more fabulous life, just like you do in many other areas, or you don't.
Yep. And Influence is a great product because it's got the elderberry in it, and it helps out with fighting
Hmm.
fighting the symptoms of these diseases. We can't say it fights the disease, but we can't say that, and it doesn't really. What it does, it supports your body's own system of fighting it.
Right.
So anyhow, that's kind of our message for today, and I would say, jump online and order that stuff now.
Make your choice and boost your immunity,
Yeah,
lower your inflammation.
yeah. That inflammation is so important, not just for this, but for so many different things, right? And we hear
Right.
about this cytokine storm, and I know a lot of people don't know what that is and everything, but I'm not going to get into it. I'm just going to say that, if you get those senescent cells under control, you're going to have less problems with this cytokine storm. You're going to have less problems with inflammation, and you know, jump on board. So, Andrea, I'll
Right.
let you close out the call.
Thanks, Doc. Thank you for coming every Tuesday and bringing us some really pertinent information so that we can make good choices of how to optimize our health. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Andrea. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.